98FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy. Weekdays from 10 a.m. on 98FM.
Now, next on the programme, a topic that we've never actually discussed before. But given how big an issue mental health is at the moment, this is something that needs to be talked about. You often hear people saying things like, I'm just back off my holidays and I'm so depressed. In fact, my own daughter put that up on Twitter yesterday. Another one said, I'm so depressed that I have to work this weekend. Or another one might say, I've nothing to wear for the weekend. This is depressing. Of course, none of these people are actually depressed. So is it an insult to people with actual mental health issues like depression to use phrases like, I'm depressed? Well, a report has claimed the following. Words matter. And we need to change the way we talk about mental health. People often use words like depressed to express annoyance at something. I'm depressed because I've nothing to wear. It's actually quite belittling to those with true illnesses that can't easily stop these behaviours, according to a guy called Dan Reidenberg, the executive director of the suicide awareness group SAVE. The report said that people who use the word depression and I'm depressed in everyday speech are being hugely disrespectful to the huge amount of people battling depression. So, like I said, my own daughter just back from her holiday, she puts up on Twitter yesterday, words to the effect of depressed, back to work, whatever. But apparently, this is insulting to people with mental health issues. I'd love to hear from you on this on 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp the programme 0877 98 98 98. So if I were to say, oh, I'm stuck in work here and look at the beautiful weather out there, I'm so depressed. Is that insulting to people with mental health issues? Call me right now on 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp your opinion to 0877 98 98 98. 0877 98 98 98. Or maybe you think this is just political correctness gone mad. That somebody can't say, oh, depressed, I'm stuck in here and it's lashing rain, or it's beautiful and sunny outside. A lot of people are arguing that this is just a figure of speech, for God's sake, and people are being snowflakes to find it offensive to use words like depressed in everyday speech. Call me right now, 6797 981. Marie, you're on 98FM. How are you, Marie?
I'm fine, Adrian.
Marie, is it insulting to people who are battling depression, clinically diagnosed depression, when people use that word in everyday speech?
Not in everyday speech, but some things people say, like, oh, I'm off the head or off this, the other, you know what I mean? And that's what I'm talking about, depression.
I'm not with you, sorry.
Sorry. What I'm saying is, I went down that road of depression. Mm-hmm. So I know what it's like. And when someone passes remarks about depression, it does hurt you.
Because, what, they don't understand? Or?
No, people don't understand. Like, you're talking about your daughter, what she said. Like, that's only a figure of speech to her. Mm. But some people can say things which would hurt people like me and people who were in the same situation I was years ago. Because it's very, very hard.
So, you think people should be what? Should be more choosy about the words they use?
I think they should be, yeah. Should think before they say things.
So for somebody, and like I said, it was just a figure of speech. My daughter was on holidays. Yeah. She wrote up on Twitter, so depressing. Words like, wish it was this time last week, it's so depressing to be back, or something like that. Some people take that as offensive.
No, I wouldn't really take that as offensive. No. People say other things.
Well, stay there for 1 second, because Breda, this is, I'm told, a pet topic of yours.
Hi, Adrian. Yeah, I'm really happy that you're actually talking about this, because this absolutely drives me crazy. My daughter has mental health issues. She suffers very badly with anxiety, and she has depression as well. So when I hear people saying, I'm depressed, and throwing it around, it really upsets me. I was in a coffee shop recently in town, and I heard two girls talking, and one of the girls actually said to her friend, I have nothing to wear on Saturday night. I'm so depressed. She's like, I've gained weight. I'm so depressed. And I turned around to her and I said, sorry. And, I wouldn't usually interfere, but I have to say it. And I said to her, I'm sorry, don't throw that word around. That's very insulting to people with a genuine illness. You're not depressed.
And is that what you think people do? Throw the word around?
Absolutely. People taking time off work for depression. I'm depressed, going to the doctor. You're not depressed. There can't be that many people in Ireland suffering depression.
For the amount of people who actually say it?
Absolutely. I mean, everybody now apparently is suffering with depression. I'm sorry, you're not depressed. You're sad. That's very different. They're two different things. I do not believe for 1 second that there's the level of people. Every second person I speak to seems to be depressed. It's just not possible. It's not. I'm sick of it being thrown around. I'm absolutely fed up of hearing people saying, I'm depressed. No, you're not depressed. That's an insult to people who have a genuine illness of depression. Stop saying you're depressed because you're not. You're sad.
Okay, and you were saying that your own daughter has mental health issues, is that right?
Yes, she suffers with social anxiety. So in places where there would be large crowds, let's say her junior cert night, I have twins, one of them went out, my other daughter didn't go out because she suffers so badly. She sat in her room and cried. And that's very hard for a mother, trying to comfort her daughter, who is very upset because she's afraid to go out and afraid to socialise because she gets clammed up, she gets panic attacks, and that's really, really scary. It's really scary. Before she goes anywhere, if she goes to a birthday party, she goes anywhere, she's always afraid, Mom, what if I have a panic attack? And I say to her, you'll be fine. So to hear people actually using the word depression so lightly, it really upsets me. People need to stop claiming that they're depressed because they're not. I don't believe that many people in Ireland are depressed. I just don't. It's not possible.
So, like I said, here's exactly what my own daughter put up on Twitter, yeah? She says, I wish it was this time last week. Being home is so depressing. Now,
your daughter put that up?
Yeah.
Well, if you have any sense, you ask her to take it down. That's very insulting.
To whom?
And it's very insensitive to people who are suffering with depression and mental illnesses.
But it is a bit depressing being home when you were on holidays this time last week.
Well, sorry, Adrian, my daughter was in hospital for a time because of her mental health issues. So to hear someone saying it's so depressing talking about being home from a holiday, I'm sorry, honey, but you don't know what depression is. You're depressed being home from a holiday. Try dealing with the real depression. The one that doesn't...
But is it not just... you see, this is the argument, Breda. Isn't it just a figure of speech that people use?
No, well, people need to stop. Yes, it might be a figure of speech, but I'm asking people to stop using it as a figure of speech because it's not nice. Sorry, Adrian, people used to use that eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a nigger by the toe. Do people use that anymore? Why don't they use it anymore? Because it's no longer acceptable. Just like this is no longer acceptable.
All right, do me a favour, stay there for 1 second. Our telephone number is 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp the programme on 0877 98 98 98. Is it upsetting or is it offensive for people to throw around a word like that in their daily speech? Text or WhatsApp 0877 98 98 98. Aaron, you're on 98FM. Hi, Aaron.
How's it going, Adrian?
Good, thanks, Aaron. Aaron, we should not be using words like, I'm so depressed, I'm stuck in work when it's sunny outside, because it's offensive.
Well, the way it is, everything's going to offend someone at some stage of their life. I mean, if you go into a deli and the girl behind it, she's so slow, is the next person going to say, oh, I have someone with a slow learning disability, you're offending him, that's an insult. You can't accept that, you know. At the end of the day, I came from depression and anxiety and stuff, but I got out of it just as quick. And yeah, I do agree, to a certain extent, there is people overusing it, but that girl, Breda, doesn't actually know what's going on in someone's head. Like your daughter came home from holidays, she was probably on a high over there. Everything was great. And then she came back, and there was one thing in particular that bothered her over here, so that's the way she felt. So I don't think it's fair that Breed is turning around saying it's an insult to people. It's an insult. You do not know what these other people are feeling. And a high going to a low is a form of depression. If you ever read up on it, Breed, it is a form of depression.
No, I do know, for example, people who get the holiday blues when they come home from their holiday, when they're back to normality, when, you know, real life kicks back in again, find it a bit of a downer. But it's not depression, is it?
Well, I mean, if you're there smiling 7 nights, 7 days, and you come back here and it's raining and it's pouring and you've nothing really to look forward to by your next holiday or something, yeah, you're going to feel a bit down. But, I mean, it doesn't last a lifetime. It lasts 2 to 3 days maybe, and you get back on the horse and you get on with it. But in terms of someone saying I'm depressed, I do only think it is a figure of speech. There's no harm. There's no one saying, oh, I'm going to say this to insult someone that is genuinely 100%.
Okay, but Breda, just to go back to you for a second, what Aaron is saying is there is no harm or offence meant when somebody uses an expression like that in their everyday speech.
No, sorry, I have to ask Aaron, do people joke about cancer? Do we joke about cancer?
No, they don't joke about cancer, and I don't...
And why don't... Sorry, hang on a second. No, you've had your say for a minute. I'd like to have mine. Why do we not joke about cancer?
It's a serious matter, and I do agree.
Okay, and depression
I do agree. Depression is a serious matter, and I'm not taking that away from you, and I'm sorry for the way your daughter is and how it is, and I understand that, but I don't think there's anyone actually going out deliberately saying, I've no clothes tonight, I feel depressed. Oh, I'm going to insult someone that actually genuinely...
Sorry, you said to Adrian there, we don't know what's going on in anyone's head when his daughter came home from her holidays, maybe she was depressed. I'm sorry, but that does not qualify. We all have the post-holiday blues. Everybody gets them. I'm sorry, I'm not going to run to the doctor and claim my depression because I'm sad to be home from my holidays.
Can I ask you a question? What categorizes depression? In your mind, what actually makes it...
I'll tell you now, in one word, my daughter being not wanting to wake up in the morning, waking up and being sad, not eating. She's like that the past year, and you know what? We're very concerned about her, and we're trying to get her help, and she wants to get help. But this is very, very serious.
Okay, Aaron, an expression that we used to use here in Ireland on a daily basis, is an expression that has gotten a lot of people into trouble, okay? And if I were to use it on air, and I will, just to demonstrate it, you would have complaints about it. So, for example, my mate is doing an 8-hour shift today, he's working like a black. We don't say that anymore, because it is not politically acceptable anymore. Isn't the same true of what we're talking about here?
I don't think so. I think.
What's the difference then?
The difference is what the expression is. You said you're actually taking someone's character at the moment. But if someone was to say they're depressed, who are we to say that they are and they aren't? There is little minor things that make them depressed. So who are we?
Okay, but you're not depressed because you've nothing to wear on Saturday night.
Well, that's...
Do you know what I mean? Somebody, I'm depressed, going out tonight and can't find anything to wear.
I'll put an example for you, okay? I grew up with 2 sisters and stuff like that. So let's say our friends were going out. She was going out and she, let's say, found out she put a bit of weight on and the clothes don't fit. Let's say, for instance, and she's feeling self-conscious and she's saying, okay, well, they're going to look great. And you get into yourself. I do believe that is a form of anxiety and depression. I do believe that. Now, maybe not to the extent or the extreme of Breed's daughter, but it is a form of depression. It's a form of going into yourself. It's a form of not being able to be comfortable in yourself. And I hope you agree with what I'm saying there. Because
okay, so it's a short-term depression. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Like, by all means, you wouldn't go to the doctor and say, I'm depressed. You get into yourself for 1 or 2 days, or you'll say to yourself, well, I'm not comfortable now. But you'll eventually get out of it, you know? But I think that the whole world's going mad. I mean, eventually we're not even going to be allowed to say that word mad. Or you're saying mad because, how do you know my uncle's goldfish isn't mad, you know? It's just getting ridiculous. I don't think there's any harm in saying something like that. It's like the love word. Everyone throws the love word around. Oh, I love this. I love that.
Well, I'll give you another example. A couple of years ago, there was one of the annual Halloween attractions, where they scare people and chase you around with chainsaws and stuff like that. They had a section of their attraction which was called The Asylum. Okay? And what it was, you walked in and, in theory, there were people in straitjackets who were mad, chasing you with chainsaws and blah, 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 blah. They got into awful trouble over that for stigmatising people with mental health issues like that. Do you think that was wrong?
I think it's what can you say? I mean, it's getting to the point where we can't do anything. Like, what can you actually say to that? What can you say? I mean, now next time I'm not going to be allowed, it's going to come to Halloween, the kids won't be allowed to dress up as such and such because they're taking someone's character or they're insulting someone. Like, what's the benefit?
Okay, stay there for a second. Sorry, Breedy, you want to get back in there. Go on.
Yeah, I actually know that the Halloween attraction that you're talking about, I was actually there in October, and I left because of that attraction. I found it extremely insulting. I was so upset by it. I remember exactly what you're talking about, and if I'm correct, I remember you actually did a piece on your show about it with the person who owns the attraction.
That's right, yes.
I remember because it was a week after I had visited it that you spoke to him, and I remember being very upset listening to your show at the time and listening to him defending it. You can't defend that. There's no defending that.
Okay, but that's a side issue.
Yeah, no, but what Aaron is saying there, Adrian, I would call on your daughter if she's listening, or if you're in contact with her.
This isn't about my daughter. I was just using that as an example of how people put up.
I would ask her to please take it down. It's very insensitive.
She's a grown adult. I'm not going to tell her to take a tweet down off her page.
But take it down. I mean, if you have a bit of sense, you will. If you care at all about this topic, or if you've never dealt with depression, or anybody who has depression, you're obviously completely clueless on it.
Okay, what do you say to people who describe people, with your opinion, as the ultimate snowflake?
I'm not a snowflake. I realise that depression is very real. It's very serious. I'm very offended by people like your daughter who throw the word around. Stop doing it. I'm asking you now to stop.
Okay, all right, stay there for a second. 6797 981 is our telephone number. You can text or WhatsApp the programme 0877 98 98 98. Dave, you're on Dublin's 98FM. How are you, Dave?
What's the story, Adrian?
Dave, we don't use expressions like working like a black anymore because it's just not acceptable. Should we be using the word depressed or depression in daily speech when we're not actually really depressed?
Right. Here's the difference, right? Working like a black was originally used to disparage an entire race of people, okay? Well, then again, it's not too disparaging because you're
actually praising
you're
actually
saying black
workers,
people. Yeah, exactly. So it's not exactly the worst thing in the world to say. What are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to go through our entire lexicon of words and pick out the words we're allowed to say and the words we're not allowed to say? And are people going to become the moral authority now and say, well, you can say this and you can say this, but you can't say this and you can't say this, just in case you might offend 1 in 1,000 people? I suffered with depression all through my teenage years. I'm still dealing with social anxiety and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I would never in a million years get offended by someone saying that they felt depressed. If you look up the word depression is just, look it up, it says adjective. Person feeling sad or despondency. There's nothing there to say people who work with people with mental health problems own that word. Nobody owns words, okay? If you want to live in a society that has free speech, you can say whatever you want.
But to say, oh my God, I'm so depressed, can't get something to wear for Saturday, okay? Now, okay, you might be a little bit down in the dumps that you can't get something to wear on Saturday, but isn't it a little bit disparaging to people with, proper full-blown depression?
No, it's not. They turning around to somebody who's actually dealing with depression and saying, tomorrow's another day, or pick yourself up, or would you ever get on with it? That's disparaging. Using a word like, geez, I feel a bit depressed today. Because you're just saying I feel a bit sad. You're using the word
Well, then, let me read a message that's just come in to me, and it says, I agree with that lady, that's that Breedy lady. I agree with her. The word anxiety and depression is thrown around. Every second person is anxious and depressed. It's ridiculous. In other words, everybody isn't anxious and depressed, but people throw it around like confetti.
So what? They're words. You know what I mean? Are we not allowed to use words anymore? If you want to say something, say something. Who gives anyone else the right to tell you you can't say what you want? And I'm even talking about people who say horrible, racist, hateful stuff. They're allowed to say horrible, racist, hateful stuff because we live in a free society with free speech. Did you ever read 1984 by any chance? No? The George Orwell book.
No.
Right, well, there's a big thing in that book, right, where what they were doing was they were chipping away at words that people were allowed to use. Because the less words you have, the less ways you have to express yourself. The less ways you have of getting information across, of being able to talk to each other. Like, I feel so terrible for that lady, her daughter going through depression, and I hope she does get better in time. But to tell people you can't use the word depressed because there's some depressed people out there might be offended by it is ridiculous. We live in the age of offended. Do you know what I mean? I was talking to someone there today in work on my tea break, and we were saying, imagine if Father Ted was made nowadays. Imagine the uproar over a show like that. Imagine how many people would be offended by that. People need to pull the finger out and get on with it. They're real first world problems, like.
Okay, Breda, this is a real first world problem. Get over yourself and get over it.
I've never heard anyone so clueless on your show. I'm dumbfounded. I mean, the generation of snowflakes that he's implying. This isn't about being a snowflake. This is about a very serious issue that still has a lot of stigma around it. And for that very reason, that people make light of it, that people use it in situations where it doesn't warrant being used. That is what's
well, okay,
wrong.
let me give you another example. And in fact, this just came into me on text. And I was sick 2 weeks ago, yeah? And my missus said to me, how are you feeling? And I said, oh, I'm dying. Well, I'm not actually dying. I wasn't actually passing away.
No.
Is that offensive to people who are dying?
No, it's not. And it's not offensive for a very different reason. There's not the same amount of people dying and suffering in Ireland because of that. This is an ongoing illness. This is something people are suffering with on a daily basis.
I understand that. I know people who live with clinical depression, but I've never heard this. I've never heard this argument before.
I really can't understand. If you know people who are living with clinical depression or manic depression or whatever other kind of depression there is, then I cannot understand for the life of me why you are so insensitive about the issue. It's nearly like you are saying it's okay to use the word, which really, really upsets me.
No, I didn't say it's okay. I said I'd never even heard this discussion before, that this was even an issue, until I read that report today.
I mean, I've heard yourself and Jeremy doing extremely compelling interviews with people who are depressed. I think you did a piece last week or the week before. I heard it on the 98FM website about a woman whose 2 children killed themselves.
Correct, yes.
You listen to that woman and then come back to me and tell me that it's okay to use the word depression, because it's not.
Okay, all right. Stay there for 1 second, please. Our telephone number is 6797 981. You can text or WhatsApp us 0877 98 98 98. Is it acceptable to use expressions like, I'm so depressed that I have to work this weekend with the nice weather? John, you're on 98FM. How are you, John?
Not too bad in yourself.
John, you think this is just pandering to snowflakes?
Absolutely. The Liberals have this country destroyed, and now they have the language destroyed. Nobody can say. You had the caller on there a few minutes ago who said you can't say anything, you can't do anything, you can't refer to anything anymore, because the Liberals or the snowflakes will go, oh, that's offending me. I'm sorry, Adrian, but people will need to
but what this report says, is that it is belittling to those with true depression to fling around words like, oh, I'm stuck in work, I'm so depressed and it's sunny outside. It's belittling them. It's making a mockery of an actual clinically diagnosed condition.
That report was probably written by a do-gooder or a Liberal. I have no time for them anyway, at the best of times. The fact of the matter is, it's a figure of speech. We all use it. We've been using it since the dawn of time nearly. And at the end of the day, people should stop telling people how to speak.
Okay, stay there for 1 second, John. Sharon, you're on 98FM. How are you, Sharon?
Hi, good morning, Adrian. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Sharon. What did you want to say on this?
I totally agree with that gentleman that's just gone there. I have suffered from depression for the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried to commit suicide a few times. I have 2 siblings who have, unfortunately, committed suicide through depression. And to be honest, the word depression does not bother me. If you suffer from depression, fine, keep it to yourself or whatever. It's like saying, I love the sun. I go out, I get a great tan, and someone says to me, oh my God, look at you, you're as black as that. You know what I'm saying? Mm. And if I'm going out for lunch with somebody and they say, oh my God, I'm so starving, I'm not thinking, don't say starving because of all the people in Africa who are dying.
or, of starvation. It's just a word, and this is coming from a person who actually does suffer from depression. So it is just a word, and it doesn't belittle the people that actually do suffer from depression. It's just a word. And as the previous gentleman said, what do we have to do? Go through our dictionary to see what word we can say or we can't say. So, no, that woman is totally out of order and out of place. There are a lot of people, and believe me, I've had first-hand experience of it. I'm still going through it, and if somebody says to me, oh my God, I'm depressed because today is so nice and I'm working, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't belittle me. It doesn't do anything.
It doesn't bother you at all?
No.
So is it people being snowflakes? Is it people...
Yeah. Some people take just too much notice of things that are being said, even though they're not being said about the individual that they're involved with or the individual who is actually. It's just a word that comes out of your mouth. Like, I'm the type of person that you don't need to give me a shovel. The hole just opens up if I say something out of the open. Do you know what I mean? So I don't need to dig the hole. It just opens up. And I feel sorry for it afterwards. But if somebody turns around and says to me, because a lot of people know my situation, I'm so depressed today, and you know what? I feel like I could just lie down and die. That doesn't affect me. Because it's just the way we speak, and that's just the way it is.
Okay, stay there for a second. Let me bring in another couple of calls on this. Eddie, you're on Dublin's 98FM. Hi, Eddie.
How you doing?
Good, thanks, Eddie. What did you want to say on this?
Just the first lady that was on there, she was saying about the word depression. And she was saying that when she hears it being flippantly flung about, the word depression, and then she went on to say, if you replay her words, she said, it drives me crazy. Now, that's a word, crazy, that people are in mental institutions because of that word being crazy. And she used that flippantly. I wasn't offended by it, but she used it very flippantly.
But sorry, Eddie, that's a word that's not used too much anymore.
Well, I mean, she just used it on your show. She said it drives me crazy. And there are people that are deemed to be, like by psychologists, to be crazy and are put in institutions, and they have families outside. I know, no doubt they wouldn't be offended by what she said, but she wants to practice what she preaches,
Okay, so you believe that it's just a figure of speech that people should not be getting offended by?
It's only a figure of speech. That's all it is. There's nothing to it whatsoever. She said she used the word crazy. I wasn't offended by that, or if she used the word depressed. I know people that are depressed, but we use all sorts of silly words in our day-to-day life, and it really is a snowflake thing, as far as that lady's concerned.
All right, and one last call on this, and that's you, Ethan. You're on 98FM. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Adrian. Yourself?
Again, your point on this is that we can't say anything anymore.
I understand where the other guys are coming from, and I also understand where the lady comes from, because sometimes it's easy for us to judge because we are not in somebody else's shoes. And then sometimes it's situations that trigger our anger, whatever it is. But again, my question to the whole point is, are we going to walk in the world with a red pen and marking every word other people make? How are we going to build a strong society that will stand tough and weak, bad word, good word? I'm black. Sometimes I get angry when black people use a word, do you do this because I'm black? And I'll be standing there and said, you are wrong.
Okay, but interestingly, you mention it because an expression that we here in Ireland used to regularly use to describe a hard worker, he works like a black. And we don't do that anymore because it's seen as offensive.
Adrian, I use it.
You do as well?
I use it, and I work in a big industry where there is a lot of people. Sometimes I use it because it's what mood I'm in. If I'm in a happy mood and everybody around me doesn't look happy, and I'm like, are you making me work as a black? Are you going to do something? It's at that moment how you feel. If you're angry about something, if you have a chip on your shoulder about something and you carry it, if somebody says something relevant to that, it's going to trigger you, I think. I might be wrong, but I think we are going too far now about everything. Like, it's the same thing I saw the other day about the World Cup, about the African players.
Yes, the tweet, the photograph.
But, like, again, if we don't put our kids into those things, if those things are not around them again, are we not causing another type of depression to them because they will be weak?
So did that picture offend you as a black man?
Look, I don't think it's, like I said again, it's how people put words together, or sometimes how people say things. That's where I come from.
No, but sorry, just back to that picture of the Senegal football team the other day. Did that offend you?
Look, I saw a bit of a joke of it because
you could see the funny side of it.
I traveled the world. I've been in Spain, and I saw those people do that. Sometimes they annoy me too, and then I saw it in that point. But in a real political way, it's a bit offensive. Because that's how
so we need to stop. Basically, what you're saying is we need to stop getting hung up on just words.
It's just words. How people say it. I think if at this age, if you don't have that in you, that you will know when somebody says something, he meant it in a bad way or he meant it in a right way. I think you probably need maybe to be stronger, or maybe you need somebody, maybe, I don't know, how can I put it there again, because...
Okay, but people shouldn't be taking offence at the mere use of words is really what Ethan is saying. All right, thanks very much indeed for your call, Ethan and John and Sharon. Thank you all of you for your calls. I have to leave it at that. We're way out of time. This is 98FM's Dublin Talks.
98FM's Dublin Talks with Adrian Kennedy. Weekdays from 10 a.m. on 98FM.